taking a peek at the steering wheel inside of the Volvo EX30. One thing that's glaringly obvious is that the EX30 does not have a traditional cluster screen, and you're also not going to find a head-up display inside of the ride. So all that basic information is going to be along the infotainment system on the top side. So that middle part there, so that's going to be locked into place. So think of that as your traditional cluster. So as you go to drive, your speed, things like that will show up along the top, but we'll dive into that one last because there is a few other things about that screen that you need to know. So the steering wheel inside of the EX30 is going to be manual telescoping. So just in the middle of the column, there's a release in order to go in and out, up and down to find that perfect position for you. Once you find it, you're going to click it in order to lock it back into place. Stick along the left-hand side is going to be for your blinkers. And then you can also flash your high beams out this way instead. As of right now, I'm currently in the auto mode, which means that I can't turn on my headlamps, or my high beams, I should say, permanently. So you can see the high beam option there. You can flash them in the auto mode, but you can't permanently lock them out. You actually have to hop into your quick launch tray, and that gives you a few options. So if we go into exterior lights, and then you're going to go into your headlamp mode. So headlamp mode, we're going to push up to confirm, and you can see there that the lights are now on. To permanently lock your high beams out, you can then push away or pull them towards you in order to turn them off. So you can flash them out this way. It's just that when you're in the auto mode there, you just can't permanently lock your high beams out, so you can flash them no problem. Then there are other options like adjusting your rear fog lamps and then adjusting a few things about your headlamp position. So do you want them sitting higher or lower instead? So it's kind of neat that that's available. There's a little rocker along the left stick, and that's going to let you adjust the windshield wipers too. So you can adjust it out, but the EX30 does feature an auto wiper. So what that means is that as rain starts to hit the windshield, you'll notice that the wiper goes automatically. It might only go once or twice, or just keep on going. If you wanted to just do a single wipe, along the tip of the left stick, there are a few buttons there. The one on the top, if you do a light push, that's just going to give you a single wipe. You could also do a push and hold if you wanted to get that front wiper fluid going. There's a button on the bottom, so just a single button push is going to turn on the rear wiper. Stick along the right-hand side is going to be your shifter. So you've got your reverse along the top there with this beautiful backup camera, and then there's also the option for a full 3D view. So there's a full 360 camera inside of this ride. So you can see here, you can adjust out and see what's going on all the way around you. It's actually really, really neat the way that that works. But you've got your reverse, drop down lightly in order to get yourself into neutral, and then drive, and then button push on the tip of the right stick in order to throw yourself into park instead. So it does take a little bit of getting used to in order to be able to adjust yourself out between all these options. Like getting it in neutral is probably one of the weirdest things. So you go to reverse first, or if you're in drive or whatever the case may be, lightly push up for a second, and that's going to switch you into neutral. Because if you're up, you push down, that's going to get you into drive. So there's this kind of nice little middle area in order to get yourself into neutral. But it's really straightforward being able to do it. So that's going to be your right stick. From there, the buttons along the left-hand side here are going to be for your cruise control system, and it's strictly adaptive cruise, so your set it and forget it cruise. As you start driving, you push the plus button along the top, and that's essentially going to turn the cruise control system on and set it at your current speed. If you push up or push down, that's going to increase or decrease 5 kilometers or 5 miles per hour at a time. If you push and hold down or push and hold up, that's going to increase or decrease 1 kilometer or 1 mile per hour at a time instead. Then there's the option of moving between either your pilot assist or just regular adaptive cruise control. The pilot assist, it's not full self-driving, but as long as the vehicle recognizes the lane markings, it keeps you nice and balanced in your lane. So even if your hands are off the steering wheel for a few seconds, eventually you've got a message letting you know that you've got to put your hands back on the steering wheel, so steering is required, but it's pretty neat that's available. And then the button along the bottom here. So as a default, that's going to be able to switch out the top part of that screen. So there are a few different views that are available, but you can also have this button set up so that it turns one pedal drive on or off, and that's done through the infotainment system. Then you've got your buttons along the right-hand side here. This one is your voice command prompt. So you can do things like change stations if you wanted to be able to turn on heated steering wheel.
Sure, turning on the steering wheel heater.
So you can turn on your steering wheel heater if you want to. You can turn on your heated first row seats. You can adjust the climate if you'd like to. You can sync the climate up. So there's a lot that you can do inside of the vehicle once you actually get the hang of it using your voice. So big ones are going to be changing radio stations, navigating using your voice, adjusting climate and things like that. But your best bet, once you get your Volvo, just push the button there. Get it to do some things, get used to it, because like I said, you can adjust your climate and things like that out using your voice. Because I know some people just aren't crazy about having the climate control settings built right in. From there, you've got your switches here. So if you ever get any messages, so you're adjusting things out, it might require that you hit OK, and that's just going to be the button here. But otherwise, this is going to be able to adjust your volume. So you can increase, decrease volume this way. You can jump in to all of your favorited stations this way if you'd like. Now, if you want a full walkthrough on the infotainment system, you'll find it down in the description. But that's the basics of the steering wheel here. Then inside of the infotainment system, you've got your cluster that's going to be locked into place along the top there. So this bar is always going to be there. And then this is going to be the adjustable part. But you've got what gear you're currently in. As you go to drive, you're using regenerative braking. You'll notice that the gauge along the top here drops down. That's trying to recapture the charge. You've got your current gear, your current vehicle speed will show up there as well. You've got what's currently going on with your mileage. So I've got 254 kilometers until I'm empty. I'm at 80% battery. You can see average speed, how much energy I'm using, and then my odometer along the bottom right-hand side. And then inside of the infotainment system, there are so many different things that you can do. But if you want a full walkthrough, you'll find that down in the description. But starting off, you've got your exterior lights where you can adjust out all of your lights. You can adjust your mirrors out this way too, so you can adjust the left or the right side independently. Once you've selected whatever side that you'd like to, you'd then use the right pad in order to be able to move it up or down as necessary. You can fold your mirrors in this way instead if you'd like to. And then from there, you can adjust the ambience on the inside, adjust your rain sensitivity, so how fast or slow is it hitting the windshield. You can toggle your lane keeping system on or off. So there's lane keeping and then there's the pilot assist. Lane keeping, if you start to veer over into another lane without signaling, it'll nudge you back into your lane. And then the pilot assist is essentially, it's not self-driving, but it follows the lane markings as long as it recognizes them. You can keep your hands off the steering wheel as well. It's really cool. Then your one pedal drive. So if you just want to really use the accelerator pedal, that's available too. Car status information. So if you wanted to see your tire pressure, that's where you're going to make it happen. You can see your trip information as well. So your current trip since last reset, and then your total consumption on top of that. If you hit this, you can change it out to automatically reset after each time you turn the vehicle on, or after each time you charge the vehicle up. Or you can just do a manual reset by tapping reset there instead. And then you've got some other basics. Other ones here are going to be your settings, specifically looking at driving. So your pilot assist, that's the one that keeps you perfectly balanced in your lane. Speed limiter is a pretty interesting system. So with the speed limiter turned on, it takes the road speed into account. So when you've got the adaptive cruise control system turned on, let's say if you've got it set at 60, 70, 80, 100 miles or 100 kilometers an hour, if the road speed is, let's say 40, it's not going to go past that point. So even if you have it set at 60 and the road speed is 50, it won't go past 50. You can hit the accelerator pedal if you actually wanted to speed up to try to get closer to that limit. But after you take your foot off the accelerator, it's going to bring you back down to the actual speed limit instead. Then your steering assist, so that's the one that's going to keep you nice and balanced in your lane. There's also lane change assist. So as long as the vehicle recognizes that there's an open space on the left or the right side, you'll get a little notification inside of the upper part of the screen. And when it's green with a little box along the side, you could hit the turn stalk to go left or right, and it's automatically going to start moving you over. But you do have to keep your hands on the steering wheel in order for that to happen. You can have it adapt to your speed. So let's say if the speed goes from 50 up to 60, it'll increase your speed. If it goes from 60 down to 50, it can decrease your speed as well, which is kind of cool. And then you've got your time interval ahead. So inside of the vehicle, I want you to think of that. So there's only adaptive cruise. So you set it and forget it cruise. So let's say if you set it at 80, car in front of you slows down, yours is automatically going to brake. But how close do you want the vehicle to be before it starts braking? So you've got 3 individual levels there. I recommend keeping yourself on level 1, residential streets. You might want to be on level 2 or 3 on highways or interstates, depending on your own personal comfort level. But you can adjust it out to whatever option there. And then your steering wheel, do you want it to be soft, medium, or firm? So think of that like the three bears. So soft is going to be more like a comfort, so you need to throw a bit more. Medium is going to be a little stiff, and then firm, nice and responsive. Think like if you wanted to have more aggressive turns, tighter turns, etc. You can turn your traction control system off. So if you're not getting traction in snowy, slippery conditions, you can toggle it off. You can toggle that lane keeping system off, so the one that's going to nudge you into your lane. And then there are a series of additional safety settings too. So a lot of options, but like I said, if you want a full walkthrough on this system, you'll find it down in the description of this video. So there are different options for controls as well. Do you want to adjust the brightness, turn your rear fog lamps on, etc. But this just gives you quick launches with more additional settings inside of the vehicle. But when you start driving, the top here is a little dynamic. You can hit the button on the left-hand pad of the steering wheel. So there's a button there in order to change between a slightly different view as well. So you can adjust that out if you'd like. I know that that is a lot of information, but that's all you need to know about the steering wheel and the buttons here inside of the Volvo EX30.